Melanie, I'm going to kick it off and then Don's going to run through. There's several questions in the chat. This is Catherine, and I want to ask you about the court hearing that is, I believe it's this Monday, August 11th. And what is in that hearing and what is the question at hand?
I think you're right, except it's Thursday, August 11th.
All right, there you go.
It's tomorrow. And
It's
so
tomorrow.
any measure that's put on the ballot, people have a right to object to the measure. And so 3 different groups objected and to have it changed. One of them was thrown out. One is by the Portland Business Alliance, and they want it split into 3 separate questions. The other one actually is pro our proposal. They just wanted some of the language changed, like they wanted to say, instead of ranked choice voting, they wanted it to say people would have the option to ranked choice vote, which is true. So that was just linguistic. The one that really matters is the one by the Portland Business Alliance. I don't know how it will be decided. We've spent a long time talking to our legal advisors. I'm hoping it will remain the same. And the reason I am strongly hoping that it will remain the same is because it only works as a unified system. To be clear on that, multi-member districts, if they are not combined with ranked choice voting, have been used in the past to actually keep minorities from being represented. What we have right now in Portland is in fact one big multi-member district. Portland is one city with 4 members who represent the whole city. And if each one is elected individually, you don't get the same breadth that you would when you combine it with ranked choice voting. Another thing is, frankly, the least popular of the 3 elements is changing the commission form of government. And I think it's probably least popular because people don't really understand what that is, but they know that they want district representation. So what if that passes? District representation, but the system, the commission form remains the same. Then what do you have? Like, one of the representatives from Eastmoreland is now the police commissioner. One of the representatives from Lentz is now running the fire department. It wouldn't work. So we are hoping very much that the judge will determine that they need to be kept together. There is some talk from the mayor's office that if it is split up, that the city council would separate them all, which is very hard to do. But the whole thing would only pass if people agreed on all 3. I think that that's a very typical thing coming out of the city council. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm just hoping that the mayor will, that the judge will side to keep this a single measure, which is what it was always intended to be.
Okay, thank you. Don, why don't you go through, start with some of the questions?
Sure. Thank you, Melanie. Melena asks, the mayor nominates the police chief. Who confirms that?
City council.
Council. Lisa
And
asks,
the reason we chose to do that was a big debate for us. But the reason we chose to do that is because in talking to the public, and excuse me for going on just a bit on this, Don, because it does answer another question.
please do.
When we chose this system, so normally in America, you'll see what's called a mayor council form in which the mayor runs all the bureaus. Or you'll see a council manager form in which they have a professional manager running the bureaus. In the listening sessions we had with Portlanders, we kept hearing people say, well, we like having a professional administrator. We really feel we need that. But we don't like the idea of an unelected official making all these decisions. So ultimately, we decided, well, why do we have to choose one or the other? Why not create a hybrid? So we created a mayor who is accountable and elected, who oversees this professional. And yet when we looked at the police chief, we felt that issue, the issue of who is the police chief, had become such a hot point, so political, that it would be inappropriate to have an unelected official appoint the police chief.
That makes total sense to me. Lisa asks, how does ranked choice government, I think she means voting, work?
In terms of the voter, experience, first of all, I should say that no one is forced to rank. If you want to go in and vote for one person, you can do that. And some of the people in the opposition have been saying, how are you supposed to know what all 15 people are and put it? You don't have to do that. Okay. In fact, it's probably a waste of your time to rank more than say 3 or 4. What you do is just like if I had to say, name your top 4 movies that you've ever watched, and you put them in order, you're going to do the same thing. This is my first choice for candidate, second choice, third, and fourth. It gives you more choice. Some of you may have felt, as I did in the last primary when we looked at the president, you have a candidate that you really like, but you're afraid to vote for that candidate because you think if you vote for them that it'll be a thrown away vote, that maybe you should vote for the person who's the most popular. This saves you from having to do that. The idea is to have as few possible wasted votes. Now, I don't want to go tremendously into the weeds with this because it's kind of like explaining how the combustible, I can't even say it, the internal combustion engine works. But let me say that for the mayor, who is running at large, how it works is if we all rank our choices and the computer looks at who is being thrown out because they're at the bottom, throw that candidate out, take the voters' second choices and reapportion them. Look at who's in the bottom, throw that person out, second choices and reapportion them until you get a top choice. In the multi-member districts, it's a little bit different because we don't want any wasted votes. Where you're voting, it's going to be one election that is going to elect all 3 of those people, but you only get to vote for one person. You rank who your person is, but you choose who you like best. And I'm going to look at your names here and make it easy for myself. And let's say that I rank Donald first and I rank Catherine second. Okay, in this case, let's imagine that Donald gets, because to be one of the top 3, you don't need 50% of the vote, right? You need 25% plus 1 to be in those top 3. You're at the point that no one else could win. So let's say we get to 25% plus 1. Donald has 50% of the vote. Well, that means he has way too many votes. And I might think maybe I shouldn't vote for Donald because he's going to get too many votes and that'll be wasted. But in the ranked choice voting, no. What happens is you take that extra vote of Donald's. Donald has 20% too many votes. And so you look at all the people who voted for Donald, you look at their second choices and reapportion 20% of that to the next person so that everyone's vote counts. No votes are wasted. And you really get what the public was looking for.
Okay, Nora asks, what about 3 commissioners per district and the concern that those 3 people will not work together and have separate agendas within the district?
I cannot control the behavior of city councilors. But what I will say is this, that would not be very productive. They do like to get votes. And I think the voters in their district would start getting pretty angry with them and would be able to take them out at the polls if they were not cooperating with one another. Now, they don't have to be in lockstep because we are looking at diversity, but they will represent your neighborhood much better and be much more powerful on city council if they cooperate and work together.
And if they represent a district, they're trying to get things done for that district as well as the city.
As well as the city.
They should work together. And Robert asks,
as I said, I cannot control politicians.
Yeah. None of us can. The next 2 questions are kind of the same. Robert asks, why not 12 districts? Marina asks, why 4 districts with 3 commissioners as opposed to 12 districts, each with a rep? Okay,
basically the same question. I think I have a little map here. I can't show it to you because it's not good enough for you to see. I do that and you wouldn't know what I'm seeing. So we spent a fair amount of time looking at the demography of Portland. And we're not the same as certain cities. Like I lived for 7 years in Boston, and it has an Italian neighborhood, an Irish neighborhood, an African-American neighborhood, and so forth. Portland does not have that because of the historic movement of minority communities. If you look at virtually any district that they could form, those districts would still have domination by white homeowners. And we wanted to represent all of our people in a better way. The other reason is for that reason that I mentioned in my talk, that right now, our city council is so busy running bureaus, they don't really have time to look into the big issues that people care about. And so we're really being run by aides who do research into these areas. If you had one person representing you, and that person had to be able to represent you well on all of the big issues, again, you'd be relying on aides. By having 3 people, they can divide and conquer to the extent that they could develop an expertise in certain areas so that you knew, for example, if your issue right now is they're racing on our streets and no one's dealing with that, you would have a representative who really takes that up as their area. No one's collecting my trash. That's the issue I face. Try and get that done. You would have someone that you could report to. There's one other reason, and that goes down to just the importance of knowing that even within a district, if we divide it into 12, it wouldn't represent everyone. So let me give you a quick example of my neighborhood. I come from the Southwest Hills. I'm of the Southwest Hills Residential League. About 60% of my neighborhood lives up high in the hills. They live in single family homes with a fair amount of yard. They have certain issues they care about. They want more sidewalks up there. They care about homeowners tax, real estate tax, and things like that. About 40% of us, including me, live down in the lower part. We're right on the edge of PSU. We're facing issues of houselessness, of crime, of trash, of developers putting together apartment blocks that are not safe. We're looking at different issues. If we only had one representative, by the numbers, that would be the person who represents that big group, the 60% group. And I tell you that when I've even talked to those folks saying, are you aware, I've put together programs for my neighborhood because I'm the president. I put together programs on houselessness and so forth. They don't even come. And when I ask them, don't you know the problems that we're facing downtown in the city? They say, oh, we just shop on the other side. So it would give us an opportunity to have someone that represents both sides of our community.
Very good. I'll point out too in the chat, Donna had a good response to the previous question, so you might want to go read that. Ethan asks, what are some comparable cities to this proposed structure?
There are no cities that are absolutely comparable to this structure. As I've said, we have taken pieces from different cities. No city is facing the same issues that Portland is facing. They may be facing some of them, but not all of them. Portland has had tremendous growth in the last decade, but compare us to a similar city that's had tremendous growth, San Francisco or Seattle. Both of those cities have huge industries that are, up in Seattle, Microsoft, Boeing, Apple, or is it Amazon? And so they're attracting a different kind of people. We are facing the problems of Portland. We have listened to the people of Portland. We have taken what we believe are the best practices from various cities in dealing with issues that they have that are similar to our own and put them together in a framework that would work for this city, not for some other city.
So it's kind of a hybrid of multiple systems.